Hey guys, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about protein. This country is completely obsessed with protein. All the time you hear on commercials, gotta get your protein. This has extra protein, protein. I don't really understand where this whole thing came from. When I was a kid, or even in my early adult life, I never heard of people being so obsessed with protein. It's absolutely bizarre to me. So I want to get into do we need that much protein? What is it for? Is there such a thing as too much? So let's get into it. Now, protein is essential for life, of course. We all need protein in our bodies every day. It's a building block of every cell. It's involved in, important functions of the human body. And, especially in growth and development, and, of course, young children need enough protein in order to grow. And when we work out and we lift weights, our muscles break down and we need that protein to help, build the muscle back up. And so, of course, we need it. Obviously, we all need protein in our bodies. We need enough fat, carbohydrates, and protein, and enough water as well. The problem is that people are so obsessed with protein that they're actually getting too much of it. The people who eat the most protein are probably bodybuilders, and then other people who just don't know any better. They think they need more, and so they just keep eating and eating and eating more protein. When I was 20 years ago, I never heard of, commercials never talked about protein. It was always low fat. This has low fat. And it's just funny how every generation sort of has its, thing that they're obsessed with, whether it be low sugar, low carb, low fat, high protein, low protein, it's enough to make your head spin. Now commercials are basically saying you can't get enough protein, which is completely wrong, and I want to talk about that today. This is what a person looks like if he's protein deficient. Other people at risk for protein deficiency would be, those suffering from anorexia or bulimia, those with cancer, or people with other serious diseases. Also, pregnant women need a little bit more protein, and, like I said, growing children, but not really much more than they normally eat. Your average person is not suffering from protein deficiency and doesn't need foods with extra protein. Protein powders are especially unnecessary and may even be dangerous for certain people. These powders are so expensive, and it's so unfortunate that people feel the need to buy these for fear that they might be low in protein. Bodybuilders are notorious for using these protein powders, and yes, in order to look like this, you do need more protein, but come on, this is not healthy. This looks freakish to me, and it's not good for the body to build up this much muscle, because this is just not the way the body is supposed to look. And some guys who get so big in their arms, they can't even move. They're just it's not normal to look like that. Many protein powders are, loaded with all sorts of questionable ingredients, such as soy protein isolate, which is highly processed, usually genetically modified, and it's not healthy for the body because it's so concentrated. It's a very concentrated source of soy. And, soy is very controversial. I did a video about this. It's fine to eat, small amounts like in tofu or soy milk, as long as it's not genetically modified and it's organic. But when you're concentrating anything, I don't care how, healthy something is, if it's concentrated that much and processed that much, you're denaturing it and sort of getting rid of any sort of benefits because it's like too much at once. It's almost like a drug. A drug is a very concentrated, whatever it may be made out of, it's very concentrated, and that's why a lot of people get side effects, because it's almost like overdosing on that one particular ingredient that whatever the drug or the food or whatever is made out of. So anything that's concentrated or highly processed is just not going to be good for the body. A lot of these protein powders have artificial colors, artificial flavors. They have heated vegetable oils, which is linked to cancer and heart disease. They have a lot of them have something called acetylsulfame potassium, which is an artificial sweetener that may be linked to cancer and other health problems. Sometimes there's mono and diglycerides, which these are emulsifiers that keep oil and fat from separating. and these are a byproduct of oil processing, including partially hydrogenated oil, which we all know by now is extremely unhealthy. Products containing these additives aren't even required to be labeled as trans fats, which to me is very deceiving. There are a lot of other harmful ingredients in these protein powders, and it's just not something that you need. They're very expensive, they're very wasteful, there's just no need to take these. So don't waste your money on protein powders. Some are okay. I mean, if the ingredient label says, you know, just hemp protein or something like that, you know, that's probably okay, but still, why do you need it? You know, I mean, if you're looking at your overall diet, which we'll get into in a minute, you know, you're probably getting enough. You just don't need that extra protein. You know, hemp protein powders are very expensive. So, you know, I'm all about saving money. I'm all about, you know, saving the environment. And so as long as you're getting enough protein during the day, you don't need to add protein to your diet, especially in these powdered forms. Now, if you're not a vegetarian, you're not a vegan, you're absolutely not deficient in protein already. I mean, there's just, unless all you're eating is chips and Pop-Tarts all day. You know, if you're eating meat in general or dairy products, you're not deficient in protein. There's a lot of protein in these foods, so there's no reason to eat extra protein. You know, people eat all those bars, those protein bars with like 20 grams of protein in a bar, and then they have protein powders in their, you know, smoothies, and then they eat like 10 ounces of steak. It's like, come on, you're really doing a disservice to your body. According to the American Dietetic Association, most normal adults need about 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. And a kilogram is equal to about 2.2 pounds. So a person who weighs about 125 pounds, such as myself, needs approximately 45 grams of protein minimum. Now, most people get way more than this, like 80, 90, 100 grams per day, because they're eating, you know, meat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or at least lunch and dinner, and then eating maybe eggs or bacon for, you know, for breakfast. I don't know what people eat. It varies, but you know, if you're eating meat and dairy products throughout the day, you're getting much more than the minimum amount of protein. Now, there are actually serious risks to eating too much protein, and one of them is chronic kidney disease. And I have kidney disease, so I have to be very careful about how much protein that I take in. So the thing about kidney disease is that it goes silent for many years until you may be in stage 3 or 4, and then start seeing symptoms, go to the doctor, and you're on your way to dialysis. So I'm very fortunate that I found my kidney disease in stage 1, so I am able to do something about it and slow the progression. I'm very fortunate. I'm very thankful that I found it very early. I'm very in tune with my body. I pay attention to everything, and I also get tests done. You should be checking your blood and your urine once a year, every year. And that's, I think, why and how I found my kidney disease so early. And it's more prevalent than people think because, like I said, there are no symptoms or very subtle symptoms in the early stages. So you could be eating 90, 100, 110 grams of protein a day for decades, and slowly you may be in like stage 2 kidney disease and not even know it because you're not getting checked out, and you're slowly damaging your kidneys all those years. So I eat about 10% protein, and that's the minimum of what the American Dietetic Association recommends anyway, which is fine. I could even get away with eating a little bit less than this, but you know, I stick to about 10%. Some people get 15, 20, 30%. You know, 30% is a little high. 20% is probably okay for most people, but like I said, you should always keep checking your blood and urine every year, or at least every couple of years, just to make sure your kidneys are functioning, you know, well, so that you can actually handle all that protein. Protein is really hard on the kidneys, especially from animal products. So I get most, if not all, of my protein from plants. There's protein in every food, except for like oil, or, you know, butter doesn't really have any protein. Something, you know, fat, like high fat foods like that, concentrated fats don't really have any protein. But fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, beans, all have protein. Fruit has the least, amount, whereas beans probably have the most amount of protein in the plant food kingdom. So if you don't eat any meat or dairy, you would have to eat nothing but junk food like cookies and cake all day long and nothing else in order to become protein deficient, which I guess is possible. You know, there's a lot of people out there who eat nothing but garbage, but you know, if you're eating at least some protein, you're not going to become protein deficient. I just don't understand why people are so obsessed with protein and feel that they need like a ton of it just to stay alive. Actually, I do understand. It's marketing. Whenever we see commercials, that's all they ever talk about is protein, protein, protein. And people don't understand anything about nutrition. So they think, oh, if this person says I need protein, that means I need more protein. So, you know, I know that like a lot of vegans get really irritated when people ask them, where do you get your protein? You know, and I understand, like I said, people just, they're ignorant about nutrition. They don't understand, you know, the content of carbs versus fat versus protein in most foods. So for example, a cup of lentils has about 18 grams of protein. A 3-ounce piece of chicken breast has about 22 grams. You know, that's very similar. So most healthy people can get away with eating more than the minimum amount of protein. But like I said before, if you have less than efficient kidneys, you know, you're going to want to eat less protein than, say, the average person. And you won't know if, you know, your kidneys are working less efficiently because, like I said, there's no symptoms until it's later on in, you know, the disease process. So the main point that I want you to take away from this video is that if you're buying foods that have extra protein in it, or they're highly processed, or any sort of protein powders, protein bars that are just loaded with protein, and that's all the marketing on the front of the package is screaming at you, you're probably wasting your money. You know, all of these products come in plastic, and you know, this is just going to contribute to more plastic in landfills and the ocean, and they're expensive and you don't need them. So, you know, really just pay attention to your diet instead of adding extra protein. You may end up damaging your kidneys, and you're also contributing to, you know, landfill waste. Now, if you have a specific disease where, you know, you need more protein, or you're pregnant, or you're anorexic, or you have some sort of a medical issue, you know, obviously you may need more protein, but you need to talk with a licensed physician about this before just going to the store and ordering a bunch of protein powders or protein bars or foods loaded with protein. It's not necessary for your average person. So finally, don't listen to all the marketing hype that, you know, yells high in protein, you know, this is what you need, this is what you need. Don't listen to marketing. I think you know by now what's healthy and what isn't. Obviously, Twinkies and French fries aren't good for you. Kale, quinoa, lentils, beans, you know, fruits and vegetables, obviously, I think people know by now that those are healthier. It's the details that people start to, you know, get confused by. You know, they think, well, kale doesn't have any protein because it's not meat. I can understand that people would think that because they just don't know any better. Go into something like Chronometer or any sort of you know, website that can list the macronutrients and even the micronutrients of most foods, and you'll see actually when you eat all these foods added up throughout the day, you're actually getting more than enough. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section, and like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel for more videos on health and nutrition and lifestyle, and we will see you next time.